God, I'm nervous because it's such a different kind of video for me. Completely different setup. Just didn't feel right filming a video like this in front of all my handbags, so just nice and casual. For those of you that watch my channel normally, you know that this is a really like out of the blue video for me, and the reason why I'm going to keep it not chatty and not the normal is because when I was trying to find information about what I'm going to share, there was a nothing, and the ones that I did find helpful were just like straight to the point, 10 minutes long. So I want this video to be helpful, which is the whole reason why I've decided to share it. So hopefully it's not too boring, but I think it'll be useful because by reading the stats of how common this is, I bet you've gone through it before or you're going to go through it, so maybe it'll be helpful for you. But to all the new people that are watching me now, you've probably never heard of me, you probably just clicked on this video to help find some information about something that you're also experiencing, and I hope it's useful. I'm just going to get straight into it. It's been about a week, so I feel like since yesterday I've been feeling more myself. Basically, what happened to me is that I had a chemical pregnancy. And I'm really thankful. Like, I always try and see the positive out of something that, you know, is not a great situation. And a chemical pregnancy, for those of you that didn't know, I never heard of this. I was researching what happened to me. I went to the doctors also. I went like on the day to Harley Street, did tests. This is what it was. And I was trying to find something online. And I was finding that a lot of the people either had a completely different result to me and they ended up being pregnant and having their baby, or it wasn't very helpful. Like, they were doing positive tests or negative tests. It just wasn't the same story as mine, or they were testing at 3 days DPO, or they weren't sharing what DPO. So I'm going to try and share as much information because I realise how common this is. So a chemical pregnancy is what's known as an early miscarriage, which is under 5 weeks. And that's what I'm really positive about, because pretty much the majority of the time this happens is your body detects that it's not a viable egg, and it's not a healthy egg, and it's not going to be a viable pregnancy anyway. So the body is actually amazing, and I'm really grateful that it happened really early, instead of announcing it to everybody or having a bump. A loss is still a loss, and you've had the disappointment, and if it happens to you, like it happened to me, it was really horrible. I was feeling hormonal, I had all the signs, but we'll get into that. I feel that when you've announced it to lots of people, you have a bump, you have a heartbeat, I do feel like this is a bigger grief. So there is a big difference, hence why it's called a chemical pregnancy, because it's not quite, you know, a full pregnancy with a fetus and a heartbeat. So the statistics of a chemical pregnancy, they think that women go for it like 4 times in a lifetime. And unless you are tracking your pregnancy and, you know, you're trying to get pregnant, there's a chance that you'll just think it's an irregular period, a heavy period. Some of you might not even notice. It can really go undetected unless you're, you know, testing all the time like I was. So what happened to me was I tested positive with my first son. For people who don't know me, I already have a 2-year-old. I tested so early on with him. It was something like 9 DPO. So I did that again this time, and it was this. I used the first response 6 days before your period, and it was well within that. I had a very strong line. It was actually stronger than the line I had with my first son, with my first child. So I'll put up the picture. I had a positive. It was a very clear positive. Something that can happen with a false positive is it can be an evaporation line, which has also happened to me. You have to watch the test, you have to keep it flat, and if it doesn't happen within the first 3 minutes and you get a line an hour later or even past those 3, you have to read the pack. But if it's an hour past, or it's, you know, past the time that it says on the form, that is an evaporation line. I watched my test flat, and it appeared after 60 seconds. There was nothing, and then I had a timer on, and within 60 seconds I had the line. So plus I was having the same symptoms that I had with my son, like crazy smell, like all what you expect when you're first pregnant. And yeah, I told my husband, I told my mum, told one of my friends. So I didn't tell anybody else, but then I carried on testing like I did with my first son. And then all of a sudden I started getting negative tests, and I just couldn't believe it. I didn't think it was even possible for this to happen. And I don't deal with disappointment well. I was so disappointed because I, of course, wanted to have another baby desperately. I was just so disappointed in that like euphoric feeling of finally getting pregnant, and then you're not, and then your body's been preparing for a baby, you have to deal with all of that. And I'm not one to talk about like really personal things, but I have to if it's to tell you the full story. So around 3 days later, that's when I started getting the cramps, and I had a period when I wasn't meant to be having a period then, and I guess that was that. And I did feel very crampy and not very well for about 4 days. In the last 2 days, I'm just feeling myself. So it's actually a very common thing. I was just really disappointed. So if you do follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I was feeling really down. I felt so down, as you can imagine. I had this positive and then a negative, and I was searching everywhere, forums, YouTube videos. I couldn't find anything. And the ones that I did find, people either stop the story halfway through because they either just want to forget about it, or they had their baby and everything's fine. The ones that I did find, which were exactly the same as me, they had the baby, or I just didn't hear the rest of the story. So I just wanted to share my story because I know it makes you go crazy searching online, that it did happen to me. It obviously does happen. It wasn't a faulty test because it was brand new. It was a first response, which has the best reputation. It was in the right time. It wasn't like I was testing really like before you can even be detected. It was in the right DPO, days post-ovulation, right within the scale when I should be testing. It was very clear that I had positive results. And then one day just went. So I went and had a blood test to check my HCG levels, which is the hormone detected for a pregnancy test. And yeah, that's when it confirmed that I was no longer pregnant. And when you're looking at all the information, you're like, how could I have tested positive and then it go down? And the only answer is that it's a chemical pregnancy or an evaporation line, which definitely didn't happen to me. So that's it really. I wanted to share with you, for all of my followers on Instagram that have been asking what's wrong. And I mainly wanted to do this video because I would have loved to have found a video where someone was saying, yes, I had a positive pregnancy test. It was positive within 60 seconds, within the time frame where I could test positive, and then all of a sudden negative. Like pretty much after research, the answer is a chemical pregnancy, and the pregnancy wouldn't have been viable. There is another reason that your progesterone levels or hormone levels aren't as to what it is and you lose it, but it pretty much is human nature. Telling you that the egg, it needs to flush it out because it's not a healthy egg. So that's what happened. I'd also like to address something. I recently went on a trip. I went to Cash and Rocket, which was amazing. I had so many messages, and I get this all the time. I just wanted to share a message, not to ask people, whether it's your friend, whether it's in social media, it doesn't have to be someone on social media like an influencer like me, it can be anyone. Please do not ask someone if they're pregnant. The amount of messages and comments I had at Cash and Rocket saying, you look very pregnant, oh she's pregnant, we're gonna get a surprise in 9 months. This actually made me feel so much worse because I was so bloated on that trip. I felt so pregnant on that trip. Like Sabrina, bless her, she was carrying my suitcases all the time. I never told her because it was too early, but she's a close friend of mine. Like she knew, she could tell something. And she was holding all of my suitcases, all of the Prosecco I was holding. I was just like holding it all the time, not to get like any attention by saying, oh, I'm not drinking. But I was so bloated on that trip. I had all the symptoms that you possibly could have, and the worry of people saying, oh, she's pregnant, you're pregnant, when I don't want to announce it yet. It's too hard, too early. And then I'm going through all of this where I had a negative pregnancy and a chemical pregnancy, and I'm still having to read the comments saying, you're pregnant, you look so pregnant, you're definitely pregnant. It just makes it so much worse. So you never know what someone's going through. If they just are going through a lovely pregnancy, they don't want to announce it for a reason. So let that person announce it in their own time. They might not be pregnant like me, and they might be desperately trying like me, and you're being accused of being pregnant. It's horrible, and it puts on all this extra pressure. And I would say I have a handful of people that mean well when they're saying these comments, but it's still not very sympathetic to ask someone, and you're not thinking before you speak. So even the nice people, please think before you speak, 'cause it has such a domino effect. It brings added stress. And imagine if I was pregnant much further down the line and this happened, the whole thing would have been so much worse. So I'm just taking this opportunity to say, please do not out people saying they're pregnant. It's so awful to do that. Let people do it in their own time. So yeah, very weird for me to do a very short video, and I'm trying to be matter of fact because I have been really upset. But I was okay yesterday, and today I feel like my body feels back to normal. I feel like I can get on with my work and everything. So thank you so much for watching. If anybody has any stories that they've had something similar, please leave it in the comments, because even a year down the line, 2 years down the line, people are going to be watching this video and they're going to look in the comments for extra help and extra stories. So I welcome all stories, whether you tested negative and positive and had the baby, you didn't. Please share your stories, because it is so helpful. Like when you're testing positive and then you have a negative, you go like a crazy person. Like I would look for hours online trying to find similar stories. So please share your stories below. That is what happened to me. It's very common. I'm sure so many people have gone through it like me, and or so many people didn't and you don't even know it happened. So that is what happened. Hopefully I get another positive result soon and that one ends better. But yeah, please, no pregnancy accusations, because it does make me, and I'm sure everyone else, feel so much worse. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I can share something more positive next time. But yeah, thanks for watching.